Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Apologies for the little late start. Had people come into the door and figured that was a better alternative than starting and walking away. So, welcome in to the third IDP Plus Mailbag show. I'm Justin Frye at FFF Ballers. He's Joe Harlow at JoLo63. Welcome in, Joe. How you doing? How you feeling?
Pretty good. Excited that off-season's fully going right now. First Sunday without football has come and gone, and let's get into this stuff.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. The NBA All-Star game just didn't cut it.
I was in Blackhawk this weekend, just one of my best friend's bachelor parties, and the dunk contest, or I think it was a three-point contest, was on at dinner right before we went into the casinos, and that was something. It happened.
3 points better than dunk contest. I mean, I'm a Boston sports fan through and through, but even with Jaylen Brown in there, I was just like, this is kind of boring. So
Yeah, I'm not a basketball guy, really. I was for a couple of years, but yeah, life happened.
yeah,
Things had to get cut. Basketball was the cut.
I played, but it's not like it's the most exciting one to watch. So, but
Yeah.
people aren't here to listen to us talk about basketball. They're here to listen to us talk about football. And while we have a down week this week, we got some exciting stuff coming because the combine is 2 weeks away.
Yeah, I think actually it's next week.
It's a week from. It starts Monday, but like the actual on-field workouts are, I think,
Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah.
Thursday,
So
Friday,
a week from Thursday. Yeah, because you and I are writing the articles on what to watch for at the combine. So
Yes, and I think both of us are doing a review of a day. I know I am doing a review of one day, and I thought you were too.
Yeah, I have. It's fun. I get defensive linemen, and then I'm also writing IDP players to watch, and then I think I'm writing. I'm writing day one, which is defensive linemen and linebackers. So I get to follow on through with the defensive theme.
Yep, and I'm doing offensive players to watch, and then the day I'm reviewing is tight ends and DBs, I think, which is a weird combo, but
it's just the last couple that they just want to cram in there together.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah. All right. So, as always, go check out our website and Discord server. To hop on the Discord server, you got to be a subscriber. I think we were running a deal where I can't remember what it was. It was like $1 to get in.
Yeah, for $1 for your first month.
Okay. I was gonna say I knew it was something, and I mean this is the time of year to hop in because we've got all sorts of great content. Most of our IDP stuff, I believe, is behind a paywall, so you got to join to see that. So if you're an IDP manager looking to hop into IDP leagues, we got all sorts of fantastic content. You and I wrote some rookie stuff as well as one of the Steves, I believe, wrote some defensive players as well. We've got all sorts of great content on the website. This week we've got a bunch of offensive rookies, I believe, coming out. Or was that last week? That was last week.
Last week was offensive rookies. This week is more getting into starting offseason free agents.
Free agents, yes. Sorry. It all blends together.
It does.
And as always, shoot us questions in the show, or if you have questions and you're watching this afterwards, shoot us email at mailbag@idpguys.org, and we'll pull it on and talk about it on the show next week or whenever you send your question in. So with that, we've got a few questions from a couple friends of ours. We'll start off with one from Shandon at Field of Shanda on X. His question is talking about where we start with an IDP scoring system, and do we like to balance it out, D-line, linebacker, DB scoring, how we adjust scoring, I guess. So do you want to knock this out or start it off?
Yeah, I can talk about that. So I am more for the balancing out a little more. I just think it's a little more fun, but I kind of think it depends on what sleeper versus MFL. You call that what
platform
system you're in? Platform. Jeez, thank you. That's why you're the professional here.
Right. Yeah, right.
But I know in the mock draft Mondays, if you've been following along with those, which you totally should, those are a lot of fun. Done various type of drafts, redraft formats, dynasty rookies, offense and IDP. But yeah, we've talked a lot about, especially on the IDP side, the Kings Classic scoring, which balances out a lot of those positions, including D tackles, corners, and we also did those in the IDP Invitational. Just a lot more balance scoring. I think that's more fun. Just kind of you get more players involved who are relevant. And especially, I know we talked about last week, if you have a D tackle, it's totally just going to bail on drafting one unless you can get Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. Then it's just wait until the very end and hope you find a Justin Matabuke.
Yeah, Christian Barmore. Christian Barmore is the name to watch this year. He'll be that breakout. So,
but yeah, if you don't have a balanced scoring system, then there's no reason to draft a D tackle until the very end. But there's ups and downs to both those ways. If you don't care about D tackles, it's fine. But
that goes for balancing to offense and defense, not just across IDP platforms or IDP positions. Ultimately, you want to force people into tough decisions. Mm-hmm. We run the why am I blanking on the name of it? The
Invitational?
IDP Invitational, which is fantastic, balanced scoring, which a lot of times they pull the offensive scoring from the Scott Fishbowl, which is always so much fun to see all the different strategies. And really all you want to do in that one for the most part is be different from everyone else. Mm-hmm. So if everyone else is drafting one way, you got to kind of go zig while they zag type deal. I do kind of like almost the default sleeper settings aren't terrible. They're kind of borderline IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring. But if you're going to balance it, the thing I see people do from time to time that is hard is they like to balance the top player from like last year. So it's all you kind of look at is where did the top position at DB versus linebacker versus D-line score and try to balance out those. And then you can kind of look back prior years to see if those are the same. I think what you really want to do, though, is balance the median scoring. So kind of look at the 6th and 7th players and balance those guys because you could wind up
when
with
to jump in there. When making a league, I usually go more towards like 12 to 15, that range of players. I mean, balance from there.
I mean, especially if you're doing like multiple starting spots with IDPs, like, yeah, absolutely. But you kind of want to not think about it from the top down. You want to take it from the median. That way, when you nail player projections, nail your picks, you can exceed those scoring settings. You're not trying to hit the top score and be like have that guy that's setting the scoring for that position,
Yeah, and just putting that in perspective from an offensive standpoint, if you look at like how tight ends up until this year were really such a crapshoot that if you just kind of went off how Travis Kelce scored the last 5 years, you're really not going to get that much else since he's already scoring like a normal wide receiver. And same with Christian McCaffrey when he was having those crazy years with the Panthers.
It's like the argument to make tight end premium like the scoring because it balances out tight end. It's like, no, it actually makes it way worse. Like it makes the strategy different, which is good. But to make the argument that it balances out the scoring is just flat out wrong. It just increases the disparity between a Travis Kelce, what he's been for so many years, and the other guys that aren't getting the consistent targets. So,
yeah, I kind of like tight end premium more now than I did 2 years ago. Just rather there are 18 relevant tight ends as opposed to 6 2 years ago. It kind of brings that more scoring, but
it's definitely. I prefer it in a dynasty league for sure. Redraft, I'm agnostic. It's kind of just how do you want to draft? Bless you. And for dynasty though, it really can help differentiate you, and you can build that strong base. Like we're in a league together, half point PPR league with a full point tight end premium. And a couple of years ago, one of the guys in that league had Kittle and Waller when they both just went off.
Yeah.
And like he was dropping 30 points with both tight ends, and you couldn't line up with him even if you had good quarterbacks. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. That team sucked to go against. And their linebacker. His linebacker and D-line core was absurd.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank 49ers fans with their good defense.
I know. Oh, well.
All right.
Well, I guess talking about defenses, let's transition to defensive coordinators and specifically landing spots. Do you have a favorite spot? I think this question also came in from
that was from
Shannon.
Ryland.
This one from Rye, from Ryland at _not_323.
Yeah. So for me, at least, I'm going to cheat a little bit. If you want pure D coordinator, I can answer that one too. But Mike McDonald was my favorite hire of the cycle, and I'm excited to see what he does with that defense. I want to see how they build it up this offseason because he has no pass rush like he had in Baltimore. He has no linebackers like he had in Baltimore. So how is he going to utilize what he has? And who is he going to bring in? Because whoever he brings in, there's going to be some value to be had in free agency or in the draft at both linebacker and pass rusher. So I'm excited to see the players that land there and to look at their dynasty value once they're in place. It's
definitely super interesting. Sorry, I cut you off a little bit there.
Oh, no, that's fine. Who's your? I think I know the answer, but who's your answer?
Yeah, to bounce off McDonald a little more first. I think one thing to be wary of is it took a little bit in Baltimore for his system to really get in play there. But what was it? Mid-season last year is really when it took off. So if they start slow, don't be too concerned. And curious who they bring in a linebacker.
It took him a little bit to they signed Van Noy and Clowney partway into the year, and that's kind of when their pass rush took off, and that's when it kind of helped fix the whole scheme, I think, was when they actually started to generate some pressure. That's when Matabuke kind of took off, was he started his sack streak, I think around week 5 or 6, right? So
sounds about right. Yeah, it's interesting. His defense is so different from every other defense where he prioritizes safeties and off-ball linebackers, where everyone else is edge rushers and corners. And he very much takes just average guys there and makes them really good. So super interesting. From a pure defensive coordinator standpoint, I was between Mike Zimmer and Ryan Nielsen. I think a lot of it both had good defenses last year in Dallas and Jacksonville, respectively, but just not losing. Going from a great D coordinator to another really good D coordinator is awesome for them. All those linebackers, edge rushers don't lose huge value. I actually kind of think Zimmer's an upgrade over Dan Quinn, especially in big time games. So we'll see how that really goes. I'm just happy they didn't go with a new unknown.
I expected you to say Nielsen, so I was at least my only concern there is do they keep Josh Allen?
Yeah,
because that one. There's some teams with some money to burn, and I think he would look really good in some navy blue with a little red and white.
Who could that be?
I don't know. We got some good quarterbacks for him to get after up here, back east. But could use some help because him and Judon with Barmore in the middle would be a lot of fun from an IDP perspective, with Gonzalez locking down the top end receivers. You get the makings of a playoff defense, honestly.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, and then I do think it is really good for Trayvon Walker. If you look at what Ryan Nielsen did, especially in New Orleans with Carl Granderson, go Pokes, who's similar build, but not nearly the talent that Walker was, or is, I guess. So I think that could be really good, actually get him to maybe not justify the 101 selection, but to really improve there and show out a lot of his talent. That big, powerful rusher type.
Do you think the Cowboys can get someone to show up kind of opposite Micah Parsons? Because to me, that's so wild that they haven't been able to really have I mean, I know
Lawrence is there, but he's
Marcus
more of an
Lawrence
inside guy at this point as he's gotten older.
Yeah, so
or
like
limited player.
I'm just shocked that they haven't been able to get some sort of a really good pass
Yeah.
rusher. Who's like the
Sam
second or
Williams
third?
showed
Yeah,
out,
that
but
was the
kind of a knucklehead off the field is what I've heard. I obviously don't know specifics, but yeah, if they could get another edge type at end of the first round, if they could pull a Chop Robinson, or they probably need more of a bigger rusher, but get into that later on. But
Darius Robinson.
if he's there, that would be spectacular. But I don't know if he's going to be there.
All
That'd
right.
be
What's the?
awesome.
We got one more question. I think we're back to Shannon for this one. If you wanna, this one's a doozy. So he kind of asked
Yeah.
us. Obviously, it's not easy to identify Puka Nakua or Tank Dell, and so much of it's landing spot dependent. But who are some mid to late round rookies we think have a chance to make an impact in fantasy?
Yeah. This is a fun question. This is probably one we're probably going to hit. I imagine we hit a few times throughout the rest of the offseason. Just bring it back up. Be like, hey, any other names? But
we've kind of been going with
defensive.
We've kind of been going with the defensive theme. So I say we stick. We have a whole bunch of names. Let's kind of start on the defensive side of the ball.
Agreed.
Okay.
And let's change it up and go back to front. So for the defensive backfield, specifically at safety, a couple names that I have there are a guy who asked Ryland, who asked the last question. His guy, Malik Mustafa, the box safety from Wake Forest, is a name to watch. Expect him to be probably a 4th round pick. He's just a big knock you out sort of safety, kind of an old school type. Then there's also Bo Braid. I think it's Braid, not Brady, from Maryland. It's another box safety sort. Had a good week at the Senior Bowl. Made a couple really cool deflections off of screen passes that I saw, which don't see very often. But there's a couple names I had. Who'd you have at safety?
Yeah. So we'll see actually what position he winds up playing, but we'll just call him a playmaker. Sione Vaki from Utah. So he, for those who don't know, also played running back some at Utah as well as safety.
What a cool player.
It was wild to watch the highlight tapes, or not even like all just the film cut-ups, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, he's playing running back now? Because I really didn't. I went into it open-minded, not really trying to do much research on them first and watch film, my opinion of them, and then kind of I can go see kind of where they're projected to go, what kind of position other people might project them into, to see if kind of what I was thinking kind of aligned. And he's one that I probably am higher on than a lot. One, you get a guy who, in my mind, he was the better strong safety, and Bishop was the better free safety on that team. And
I'd agree with you there.
He was the one who was always making plays. He was shooting into the backfield. He was making whatever big play, and just always there in coverage. And when he has the skills of a running back and he can get interceptions, I'm like, this guy has the ability to do it in big play leagues. He can shoot gaps and make tackles for losses. Like, he seems to have a floor and a ceiling, depending on where he winds up landing. He's one I'm really interested to see what kind of role he can carve out at the NFL level.
Bet your old coach BB would have loved him.
It's a little smaller than I would have hoped, but for that true box safety role. But I do think with nowadays with coverages rolling all over the place and trying to disguise coverage, he'd be a really good starting safety for a team.
Absolutely. I think he could be, what was it, Marcus Jones that you guys had, Patriots had a couple years ago, who had like a punt return for a touchdown, a pick, and a 50-yard touchdown catch in one game. Something crazy could be used. I don't know if I'm looking out. I don't think he's not a returner at all, Vaki, but
I don't know why, because I would say he should be able to do that. I would think he would have that skill set as a punt returner.
Just happen to have one. I can double check that though. Or Ryer Shandon can let us know, the Utah fans that they are. So I guess moving on to another position. Did you have a name down for cornerback?
Not really, but the guys I'm kind of watching are like the slot guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna butcher his last name. from Michigan, Santistril.
Sander still, something like that.
Yeah, he would be one that he's probably not going to go super early, but he should be immediately a nickel corner for a team. So he'd be coming in, playing the slot, getting those tackles. Guys like that are the guys that I tend to gravitate towards if I'm going to pick a cornerback like that. It's not really a
Absolutely.
spot where I'm going to target for a draft steal necessarily, but he would be the guy, I guess.
Yeah, a name I'd throw out as well also would just be mostly looking at the slot type corners. Ajarian Jones from Florida State has been their slot corner. Looks like he's has some versatility inside outside, but was fully their slot guy this year. It's pretty good there. Expect him to also be in that kind of 4th round range. Also had a couple sacks this year, so has that upside potentially. So it's a harder position, especially with so many good outside corners this year. Not sure who will slip in. Then there's also a guy like a Kamari Lassiter from Georgia who could project more as a slot guy at the next level. Linebacker wise, let's hold off on linebackers, save that to the end. I know we both have a couple names we both really like there, but how about at the edge rusher, which I know you wrote the edge article for us a couple weeks ago.
So depending on how deep you want to go, Jonah Ellis looks really good. He only started for 1 year for, again, Utah, but man, was it impressive. And for anyone who's not familiar, I believe his dad was an NFL player. His brothers are Christian Ellis and Caden Ellis, who are linebackers. Christian played for the Patriots to end last year, and obviously Caden's in Atlanta. Going to be a really good player for the Falcons this year. Jonah's a little bigger, and honestly, he looked bigger to me when he was playing than his measurables. But he just popped all the time when watching him on tape. So he's one I'm like super interested in to see. I really hope he can get on into round 2 and hopefully in a good landing spot where they can develop him. Because I could see, I forget who I kind of compared him to. Maybe like a slower Harold Landry.
Yeah, I think that was the name that you had mentioned to me when you were going through.
But I could see, I don't think he's going to have necessarily like elite sack numbers or elite testing, but I think he's going to be really good and he can play on all 3 downs, 4 downs really. But he would be the top guy for me at the edge spot. I also like, I'm curious to see how he tests. Might be in my article even coming up. Mohamed Kamara from Colorado State. He was fun to watch on tape. Just his explosiveness. He seems to have one of the best get-offs of any edge rusher in this class, from what I've seen, and the bend to make an impact. I haven't watched the Shrine Bowl yet, and I'm curious because I know he was there, and I really want to see what kind of an impact he made when he was kind of in that game. So that's another one. He should be a little later, maybe a round 3, round 4 type of guy who could have an impact. What about you? Who do you like?
There's a couple different flavors of guys. I know there's Javon Solomon from Troy, who similar profile to Kamara, smaller, quick edge rusher, who I've not done a lot of work in, but I think it was Big Steve in one of our last mock draft Mondays, the one with the IDP side, brought his name up. A couple other names, Marshawn Nealand out of Western Michigan, I think is going to go too early to count here, but he's one who I really like a lot, and I think you were higher on as well. I think he's probably going to end up sneaking into the second round, so don't think he'd qualify. Austin Booker, the edge rusher out of Kansas, formerly, where was he before? Can't remember, but he was somewhere else before.
I'm blanking on it too.
Tech. I'll look that up. But he has been super inconsistent, but the tools are very, very fun. Then there's also One of the Murphy twins, Gabriel, I believe, is the higher rated one. Gabriel Murphy out of UCLA. And those are some other potential third round players who could be great. I feel like the depth of this class really isn't there. So edge rusher, I don't know if there's really is a huge guy here.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. There's a couple other guys that probably are even later. Jalix Hunt out of, I think it was Houston Christian.
Yeah.
It's like a really small school. So it's a big projection. He's not going to do much for you year one, but he's an interesting name. And then Texas
It was
Tech
Minnesota
kid.
that
Oh,
Minnesota's
okay.
where Booker was first.
It's Texas Tech kid. Miles Cole,
That sounds right.
something like that, who probably is a day 3 pick that I really liked too, and show some flashes of maybe there's something there that someone can get out of him.
Yeah, Miles Cole is the name.
Okay.
Yeah. So interior defensive line, and he's there. I have a couple down, but
Not really. I'll be honest. I mean, I don't know where he's going to go. This is another one that I'm going to write up, but I am curious about Tavondre Sweat.
He's going to be a first round pick.
You think he's going to go that high?
He will be. Yeah.
Because
top 40 first.
That's something I'm planning to put in. Honestly, sneak preview. One of the things I'm looking for is what does he weigh in at the combine? Since he was, I believe, the only player who didn't weigh in Mobile, the Senior Bowl. And I'm guessing there was a reason for that. And I'm guessing it's because he was heavier than he wanted to be. So what is he actually going to tip the scales?
Yeah, I could think he's going to go in the 25 to 40 range, which maybe even a tick higher than that, which is probably where Jordan Davis should have gone.
He was listed at 362, and if he weighs in at that much, which I doubt, because he should be cutting weight now, but if he does weigh in that much, I do think he could sneak down into the third round because he's just not going to be a player that teams are going to think they can play enough to justify that high of a draft pick.
I don't think there's any way he's slipping to the third round unless there's a Laramie Tunsil situation. But yeah, just from what NFL guys are saying, he's as close to a lock. He's a lock in the second round at this point. But those traits, and one NFL team will love them. They can do. I mean, Jordan Davis went 10th overall or 11th overall.
And if you think if the weight holds up, I'm there with you. But if he's too heavy and he's not going to be able to play full time or near full time, if he's a 55% snap kind of guy, I wouldn't want to burn a second round pick on him. I'll be honest.
I don't know if I would either, but an NFL team will. Again, Jordan Davis, who has honestly less out there, less tape, less good tape, again, was the top 15 pick. So we'll see. Teams don't like to learn from their mistakes or other teams' mistakes. But some other names that I had in there are Michael Hall from Ohio State, who also blew up the Senior Bowl. I don't know where he's going to go. Probably second, third round. Respect, he's a smaller D tackle, but really good pass rusher. Then there's the formerly high rated, like 5-star types of Mason Smith from LSU and Leonard Taylor from DU, who really just underperformed at college, but still huge talents. So someone with a flyer to take later, maybe just talent alone. And then another name who actually, this guy could be like a 5th round NFL player, is Dwayne Carter, D tackle from Duke, who I like a lot. I don't think he was actually invited to the combine, which was surprising, but yeah, so another deeper name there.
Another combine snub. What was his name? Northern Iowa, Christian Boyd.
Yes, good call out.
He was at I think it was the Shrine Bowl, and he blew that one up too. He's another one.
Yeah, that was a shocking snub. That was definitely the biggest snub I thought of the combine.
Yeah, so he'll be an interesting one to see where teams value him, because I was surprised he didn't get an invite, especially with how well he did.
Yeah, could be one of those. Just I know Dane Brugler and someone else. Who did they have on? Who's talking about it? Or have I just been Dane? About the combine, like a lot of teams, the teams are the ones who vote for players to get there, and a lot of times a team who really loves a player will vote for them to not go to the combine. So just to keep them hidden. So maybe it's something like that.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, at this point, the combine is more about measurables than anything else. Like specifically, and interviews, and not measurables, not about measurables anymore. It's more about interviews and about medicals.
Yep. Yep. So those interviews are the biggest part, but we'll see how it ends up going. So last position is linebackers. Do you want to talk about our shared love from Kentucky?
You can start with those two. I got a couple other ones I can run through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So player I alluded to is Trevin Wallace. I always want to say his last name is it Williams or Wallace? I always get those thrown off for some reason there.
Trevin Wallace, I believe.
Wallace. Okay, I put Williams in the doc. I always do that. I don't know why.
Trevin Williams was a cornerback for the Packers?
There's a Tramon Williams.
Tramon Williams, wow. All right.
I don't know. But Trevin Wallace from Kentucky, player who in my linebacker rankings that I did a couple weeks ago, what ended up as my linebacker 5. And I wish I put him at linebacker 2. Not going to lie. But definitely watching more film since, the dude flies all over the field. Think he also has some good ability in the run game, blitzing gaps, just shooting gaps in general. Guess is wrong sometimes, but that's going to happen, especially for a college linebacker who's clearly the best player on his defense. I think he's just an absolute missile out there. Showed really good coverage skills, which is very important in today's NFL. Going to be a 3-down player. And he ended up weighing in at Senior Bowl at what, 230 something, 235, almost 240.
I think it was 240. I think it was over 240.
Did he hit 240s?
I think it was 244.
Love to see that.
Yeah, exactly. If he could test it if he can hit 240 and still be the player that everyone saw at the Senior Bowl, then he, without looking at draft capital right now, he would be my linebacker 1, honestly.
Really?
And that's with all the big names having been done. But I don't expect him to be picked as linebacker 1, so he will not wind up there.
Yeah. Let me get my ranking now. I probably do have him now as my second linebacker behind Cooper, but I definitely think he's closer to Cooper than he is to the next tier of guys.
I'm so curious to see what round he goes in, because I've seen mocks where he's in like a 5th or 6th round pick, and I'm like, well, if he is, why did he early? Because he's one of 3 linebackers in this class that are early declares. I think it's him, Colson, and I forget the third, Cooper. But it's Cooper. Okay, like the stars of this linebacker class for the most part are the early declares.
Yeah.
So. I mean, he was the one you said Reuter had him in the first round of his NFL?
Yeah, Chad Reuter had him, I think, 20, had him to Pittsburgh. So, 21, something like that?
I think Pittsburgh's at 20, I think.
Yeah, which blew me away. It's like, whoa. I've seen him anywhere from the first round to the 6th round. It's like, I expect him to be more of a 3rd-round player, but kind of like where Diane Henley went. But
that would be roughly where I would think. I think late 2, he comes into play to a Dallas or someone I could see. Especially with that size, he makes a lot of sense there from my perspective. But honestly, I think they might target Cooper.
Agreed.
Who else? Do you want to talk about your other guy or?
Yeah, John Trey Hunter from Georgia State. Sorry, my cat is excited that I'm home. Hunter is. I don't expect him to have early draft capital. He's probably more of that 5th, 6th round player. I think he's pound for pound the best athlete amongst the linebackers. Their game against LSU this year, he was spying Jaden Daniels most of the game. It actually looked really freaking good. It's one of those where he was doing everything right, did everything, was spying Daniels well, but everyone else on the defense kind of just couldn't hang.
Yeah, the couple times I saw him drop in coverage in that game too, he was hanging with whoever he was asked to cover.
He manned up Brian Thomas a couple times. Thomas got the better of him a couple times, but sure, okay.
Yeah, he's going to be a little. I think he's undersized a little. I forget what he weighed in Mobile.
He started at Georgia State as a safety, so there's a lot of that hybrid ability as well.
Yeah. A couple of names I I'm going to throw out there are actually the quote unsexy names in this class. But so you're not necessarily going to get the high end steal, quote unquote, of a Nakua or a Dell where they're like a top 12 player. But these guys should have longer careers than where their draft capital necessarily suggests. Tommy Eichenberg is one. Um, he's not the flashiest talent, but I think he looks like one of the smarter linebackers out there, just from the games I've seen, setting defenses, and I don't think athletically he's that far behind. That like I saw him locking up running backs and a couple times tight ends, but if he tests athletically enough, he's one I'll be interested in. The other one, my favorite is JD Bertrand. He was everywhere on film. Really, really good player. I think he'll probably go round 3, maybe early round 4, but we'll
Sounds about
see
right.
where
I think
they wind up.
Bertrand, I think, won was like the captain of his team at the Senior Bowl. He's voted best linebacker there in his squad.
My question with both of them, honestly, was just athleticism. How athletic are they? Because it's hard to get a feel for that too, and that's something you'll probably see in my article as well. It's just honestly just seeing the testing numbers for the linebackers. One, do they hit the weight thresholds that you're looking for, and then two, can they hold up in coverage? Because most of these guys aren't asked to drop in coverage that much.
Yeah.
That's one thing with John Tree Hunter that you could find is he holds up well athletically, but like Edgerrin Cooper didn't really play a ton of coverage from what I saw. He wasn't dropping
He did a lot more last year.
So it's a little more projection of his athleticism and can he do it at a high level, which the answer should be yes, because you could see when he triggers and comes forward how explosive he is. So like obviously it's just different backwards versus forwards, but honestly, if they can do one, they should be able to do the other.
Mm-hmm.
So
another name to just toss out there in the same Bertrand mold is Nathaniel Watson, the other linebacker of the week at the Senior Bowl. I don't remember who was on which team, but he's very Ivan Pace to me. Just solid late round pick, could be good if he's in the spot. I think all these guys are just good players.
Yeah, for me, this class screams to take the edge early. If you're looking for IDPs in the draft, targeting those first round. I mean, in general, it's always a good idea, but there's kind of a big 3, and then like a next little grouping where you could get like a Chop Robinson. I'm curious to see how Braylon Trace tests, but he's probably going to be up there, and Darius Robinson. But like after that, you kind of just want to wait and maybe take a couple linebackers and see if you can nail one in a good landing spot that might get some playing time. Because, I mean, there'll be a couple that'll go high because everyone always wants to get the next linebacker. But there's none that are so crazy elite that you're going to probably regret passing on them for the pass rusher.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Cooper, I have very high in my rankings, but I don't think that's consensus. And him still slipping to the 50s would not be a shock. He's actually, I don't think I told you this, but he is now the top rated defensive player on my board, Cooper, including the edge rushers. But that is also very zealous, I admit.
I say I would take all 3 of the top pass rushers over him.
I think most would. I did not, including in Mock Draft Monday, which some were very surprised about.
All right. What else did we have that we wanted to hit on? Oh, we got some trade question.
Yes. This one is from a friend on Sleeper Shadow 51A. It is T. Higgins or Kyle Pitts. And a little extra context there. It is not a tight end premium. The Pitts current manager is doing very well at their tight end spots, and the Higgins manager needs a tight end desperately, but is doing well at the wide receiver spot. And the Pitts manager needs an influx of youth at wide receiver. So I feel like this is a pretty even deal.
Ugh,
I
goodness.
think it's kind of
There's so much to this to do now versus in a month from now, when you might have an idea who's throwing the ball to Pitts and what team T. Higgins is on.
Yep.
Um,
I would be very surprised if Higgins did not get tagged.
I mean, I literally bet that, so that would be my expectation too. But if he gets tagged, I definitely think I lean Pitts' way, especially if Higgins signs a long-term deal.
You think so, even with Joe Burrow locked in as the quarterback?
Yeah, because Higgins really hasn't done as much with Jamar Chase there as people seem to think. I
agree.
I feel like he's still carrying more on name value than anything else. Because where would he be in your receiver ranks, roughly? 25-ish?
Yeah, he's around there. I should know. I did that article, but I don't
assuming probably, I assume you're putting rookies in there. You probably have at least 3 of them over him.
Yeah, he'd probably be around wide receiver 25, and give or take 5 spots.
Pitts is probably around 6 at tight end.
Yeah, give or take a couple, but
I don't see T. Higgins climbing those rankings, even if he were to go to a team where he's one of.
If he goes to Tennessee and
guys.
Hopkins is gone.
I mean, he's not going to be the only guy there. So, honestly, his archetype isn't the type that I typically target. Those downfield jump ball, 50-50 ball guys. I want someone that can separate and get open. And I do believe he actually can do some of that stuff. I was watching when Browning was there, they were actually using him to run some slants after Chase hurt his ankle a little bit. And it was nice to see that he can run those slants where you're just looking for him to get open in 5 yards enough. But I'll take Pitts even without the tight end premium. It's hard though, man.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just kind of a win-win, honestly.
Agreed.
Without more context than this, if I knew what the rest of the teams look like, just taking.
I mean, I can get to.
That's fine.
I'm the other team in this one. So, but Shadow and I were talking about it and just thought that it could be a good conversation here. So, the other tight ends I have as the Pitts manager are Hawkinson and Kincaid. So then wide receiver wise, kind of Michael Pittman, Ridley, and Diggs are my main ones. It's a start 3 wide receiver.
Gotcha.
So we both thought it was pretty even. So I think could argue a 3rd round pick either way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be a little team dependent in how you like to build your roster, I guess. Because I can see also just punting tight end a bit in non-tight end premium and keeping my depth at receiver. So.
I don't remember offhand who his receivers are, but I think Higgins is his wide receiver 6. So,
wow,
dealing from plethora for both sides in this one, but thought it could be an interesting conversation to have here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
2
influx players.
So after that, we got a couple buy-sell holds we want to talk about.
Yeah, I think this is something that we might do going forward. Just throw a couple names out there, see how we're feeling. Do you want to start with offense or defense?
Let's start with defense.
Alrighty. So we're going to go linebackers this week. And the names we have are Nakobe Dean from the Eagles, Pete Werner with the Saints, and Troy Anderson with the Falcons. And for some perspective, in our IDP Plus Dynasty rankings, those are linebackers 20, 28, and 48, respectively.
It's
Surprised
so
Anderson's
interesting.
that low. I think that's more just coming off injury.
Yeah, I wonder if they just some might not be updated because it's shocking to me the fact that Dean's coming off an injury at 20.
Sure.
Werner really hasn't done a ton. I don't know if that's scheme or what, but I had high hopes for him and he just keeps underperforming. And Demario Davis keeps doing everything for that team. And Anderson, I still am in on Dean, but that obviously the price, he's probably the most expensive of the three,
Mm-hmm.
especially with Fangio there. I think, oh, goodness.
It's a tough one. For
Um,
me, I guess I can go first while you deliberate a little more. I think I'm going to go opposite of what you do. I think I'm going to buy Troy Anderson, hold Pete Werner, and sell Nakobe Dean. Dean, I don't trust with the injuries. Just so many of them. That's why he fell to the third round out of Georgia. The Fangio scheme is awesome for linebackers, and like you said, he's probably the most expensive of the three right now. So I don't have them very far apart. So I think would get the most value out of this that I can. Werner, I think, is the best player, has shown the most on film, but there's still some. He hasn't done much for IDP fantasy purposes, so it's like, what is this? Is this a Demario Davis deal? What's going on here? Is he just a limited player? Then Troy Anderson, I think, has just kind of been forgotten about. So I would buy him, though I think he's the least expensive of this trio right now. So that factors in my
so
thinking.
I think Werner's my sell. I struggling with the buy versus hold just
Mm-hmm.
because of the price difference. Agnostic of price, I want to buy Dean and hold Anderson, but taking our ranks into account, I think it's easier to buy Anderson and hold Dean.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the way I'd probably do it.
I think that makes sense.
So yeah. And then the other one we had was on offense. We were going to look at running backs. Pending free agent Antonio Gibson, Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard, and pending free agent from the Texans Devin Singletary.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think I was going into this one assuming Singletary was back with Houston, which I forgot he was a free agent, to be totally honest. But
it's interesting. So our rankings have them 33 through 35, and it's
yep,
the complete opposite order on keep trade cut.
they have Gibson is 48, Hubbard 47, and Singletary 44 amongst running backs and keep trade cut. Yeah, 33 through 35 with IDP Plus, which is another perk if you go to and subscribe to IDP Guys at idpguys.org. Then you can see all these rankings for redraft, weekly, dynasty, superflex, with or without IDP, etc. Just go and subscribe.
So I think I'm going to buy Singletary, hold Hubbard, and sell Gibson. I think there's a shot Singletary comes back. He was clearly their best running back. I do think they're going to try to throw some money at one of the elite players, but Singletary is going to wind up somewhere with a decent role because all he ever does is go somewhere and take away from people that other people think are good and just continue to produce for fantasy football.
Yep.
Hubbard was the more efficient back in Carolina, and both coaching staffs wanted to get him the ball more than Miles Sanders. So I would expect he has at least some sort of a role, maybe as like the 60 percenter in a 60-40 split with Sanders, something like that this year. And then Gibson, I do like, and I'll be very curious to see where he winds up and if he can go to a coach who has some creativity to them, but I think I'd still. You got to hold him obviously until he signs, but then sell him.
Yeah.
What about
I'm
you?
going to go with Gibson as my buy, actually. Just the talent. I think he's the clear most talented of these three players, and hope he gets in that right spot. And again, it's not like I'm going to pay a first-round pick for him, but late 2 plus for him and a late 3, something like that. I think that's interesting. Chuba Hubbard is my sell. He's probably going to be the lead role if it's a 60-40, but he was not very good. It's like he's a starting running back, but I think he's just going to be someone who you don't like in your lineup.
But the thing with him, at least from my perspective, was the whole Panthers offense wasn't good, and he was still actually producing reasonably good numbers for fantasy. So if you fix the offensive line and get some weapons in there to actually like threaten defenses with the pass, I actually do think that he can be a lot better. But we'll see.
I don't see him as an NFL running back, really. I don't see the talent there. I don't think he's very good. He was better than Miles Sanders, but I don't think he's going to produce much. And it's one of those that even if he does, I don't think he's going to be more than a borderline running back 2. And I'd rather sell him for a shot somewhere else. But then Devin Singletary is my hold. I think he's better than Chuba Hubbard. And if he's in Houston with upgrades there, I think he can still be solid. And yeah, Hubbard, I think you can get a 2 for in a 1 quarterback league right now. So someone who's desperate for running back.
Question for you. Let's talk about a different running back. Where would you put J.K. Dobbins in here?
Oh.
We'll talk about this one live on the air. I put him on the trade block, and I got an offer in a 16-team league of mid-third round pick for J.K. Dobbins and a 2026 fourth-round pick.
I would hold Dobbins for that offer.
Interesting.
The value is probably fair there, but I think they're just the talent wise. Like, what running back are you going to get in the mid-third round? Like, that's where I think even Chuba Hubbard in that league, I think he still went in the second round of our rookie drafts.
This class skews it a little bit for me, though.
Yeah, but you could maybe get Dylan Laube there. But
I think he's going to go in the 4th or 5th round of this league. 16-team super flex IDPs. So
yeah,
just for context, I think you're looking at a day 2 receiver, potentially a day 2 running back, or an early day 3 running back.
Maybe.
It's more for me. It would be more if I were to accept it or counter it. It would be more about redistributing. I think because I also have Singletary in that league.
Yeah.
And they're my running backs like 5 and 6. So it's the scenario is where am I actually playing? Like how often would you actually play this guy?
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good point. Pure value wise, I think I would still rather the shot at Dobbins. I guess is he a free agent or is he back with Baltimore?
He's a free agent as well, coming off the Achilles.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I'm willing to. Honestly, I might just accept it just because the Achilles injury scares me. But
yeah,
I figured I'd bring it up on air.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I think I would, if it was just for the 3rd straight up, I would consider it. But also throwing in a 4th, I don't think you would really need to there.
I might counter with a 5th instead of a 4th.
Yeah,
it's not a big thing, but we'll see what he says.
And you said it was a mid-3rd rounder?
Yeah, 306.
Okay, so there you could also still probably get a solid IDP, whether it is Trevin Wallace or whoever goes as linebacker 2 in this class, which, okay. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of running backs there, I get it.
Yeah.
With the Achilles, he's probably not going to turn into anything, but
I mean, at best, he's going to split time with someone this year. So he's another guy I would be, at least for me, I'm willing to sell, even though I loved him.
Yeah.
But those Achilles are killers.
They really are. Tough one.
Yeah. So let's run through the articles coming up for this week quick. I don't think we're going to get to my article talking about startup strategy, but we can come back to that another time. So articles coming out this week. Steve McCrory had his offensive free agents publish, I believe, yesterday. He's on X at average Joe's or AVG Joe's _FF. Gary Van Dyke at the IDP Tipster on X has 3 articles coming out today, tomorrow, and Thursday on free agents on the defensive side. Linebackers came out today, defensive line tomorrow, and DBs on Thursday. And then our very own Joe Harlow at JoLo63 has coaching changes and impacts coming out on Friday.
Yep. That article was a pain to write. There's so many coaching changes.
Oh, yeah, it's getting wild, to be honest. How
31
often...
out of 64 coordinators and 8 of 32 head coaches. Yeah. So much there.
Everyone wants instant gratification on this stuff, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what is it now that Brian Callahan got the job that every single team has changed their offensive coordinator in the last 2 years?
Yeah, it's something wild like that. 2 or 3 years. It's insane.
It's insane. And D coordinators, I think it's the same thing minus like 3 have been around for a couple of years. It's like, that's crazy.
As the Patriots fan, I'm actually really excited to see a new scheme for once.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can actually develop like receivers and quarterbacks, and they don't all have to like run all these option routes that everyone has to see the field the exact same way. But
that'd be cool. That'd be
yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and while we're at it, buy Ramondre Stevenson because him in that Nick Chubb role, I'm excited.
It could be very fun, especially with no other really running backs there. Because Zeke was a 1-year deal, right?
Yep, he's gone. I do expect they'll bring someone else in. What is his name? He was the Bucks' 3rd-round pick a few years back.
Vaughn?
Yeah, Keyshawn Vaughn is still there. And the South Carolina kid that they drafted when they drafted Pierre Strong, Kevin
Harris,
yeah. But I think that's the running back depth chart right now. They're going to add someone. I would expect them to add like early day 3 running back who is going to be a scat back / future 1B probably.
Makes sense.
Sorry, we're talking Patriots, but we're
relevant.
Right at an hour now, so
perfect. Yeah. Just one more reminder: whether it's trade questions, options for buy, sell, hold, various other IDP or dynasty related questions, or even early redraft strategies, other questions relating to draft profiles, whatever else, you can reach us at mailbag@idpguys.org. Or you can reach out to Justin at FFFBallers on X or me at JoLo63, which you can see at the bottom of our screens here. We will see you this time next week. And thank you, as always, for tuning in and for some wonderful questions. We'll see you next week. Good luck. Hope you don't suffer too much through the doldrums of the off season. And may the force be with you.